Bones, they can't reason. Islam? And as we often hammer home the point of the matter being that at times we could misconstrue the lower self with this particular fleshy self, right? We use them interchangeably, right? But it's not in flesh to think. This flesh of yours doesn't direct itself, right? That's something that directs this flesh. Islam? Allah, he says, Allah's giving you no good without this admixture of evil, right? And the carnal nature that sprang forth from fleshy things, it's a nature that sprang forth. So it came from this particular physical form, but it was because of man's own misuse of the consciousness that was reposed upon him alone. Islam? Misusing the consciousness, the awareness that he had, his thinking, his reasoning, his willing, his understanding, right? Misusing the actions of the soul. Right? But man was given this particular ability because he has a responsibility and a duty. He's been assigned a role in creation. Islam? If you continue to read, if we go to in 6, it says, something is added to thee, unlike to what thou seest. Right? Something informs thy clay. Higher than all is the object of thy senses. Behold, what is it? What is this something that informs thy clay? What is that something that informs this physical body of yours and is higher than the object of all the senses? Islam. It's higher than all of the senses. Your hearing, your smelling, your tasting, your touch, right? It's something that informs you higher than those senses, right? So it supersedes this physical form then. Islam? He says, behold, what is it? What is this thing? Let's continue. He says, he's giving us some clues now, right? That's those breadcrumbs once again. The body remained perfect after it is fled, therefore it is no part of it. It can be a part of this particular body. He says the body remains perfect even after it's fled. So it's no part of it. It is immortal. It is immaterial, therefore it is eternal. It is free to act. Therefore, it is accountable for its actions. This particular something that's added unto thee. He's giving you a description of what this particular thing is. This is what they call context clues, right? Islam? See, after you use your context clues, you say, wait, okay, something is added to thee. What is it? Right? It's immaterial. He's giving you context clues to begin to get you to think, to get the wheels to turning for you. Hopefully, it'll make sense to you. Islam? He goes on in 8. Know if to ask the use of the food, because his teeth mow down the herbage, or standeth the crocodile erect, although his backbone is as straight as thine. Allah formed thee, meaning you, as he formed these, every other thing in creation. After them all were thou created. Superiority and command were given thee over all. And of his own breath did he communicate to thee the principle of knowledge. So of everything in existence, it says that man was the last to be created. After them all were thou created. But yet, even though man was created last, he said that superiority and command was given thee over all. Strong? That's why there's something that was added unto thee. That's why consciousness was reposed upon thee alone, because man was given superiority and command. Man was fully ordained to be the Lord of this particular plane. Islam? But what did man do? What did he do? He gave up his birthright just to gratify his lower self. Islam? Gave up because he thought the grass was green on the other side, as they say. Islam? He began to let those emotions, the emotions and the effect of things in the physical realm begin to affect him. Whereas at one particular time, there was a point where man was in full control of himself. And you say, brother, I'm in full control of myself now. No, you're not. Right? You only think you in control of yourself. That's wrong. And see, when we get to the particular point of understanding, and this is what the prophet tells you when you open the Quran up and it begins to give us that first instruction. He says, know thyself. Right? Know thyself and Allah. In conjunction to knowing yourself, know Allah. Right? Those two work hand in hand. Islam, but the process of knowing thyself, just as the title of this chapter is, it's not simply understanding from the physical standpoint, but it's also understanding that there's something bigger than you than just from a physical standpoint. Islam? And see, once we begin to understand how the two correlate to one another, then that's when you begin to regain control. Islam? But it's an important factor in knowing thyself, right? Because in the chapter 3, Elihu's lessons, he talks about the two selves, lower self and higher self. And the brother Jesus, he tells us we need to study both aspects, right? Why? Because he who knows well his lower self knows well the illusions of the world. Those are the things that pass away. He who knows well his higher self, what? Knows of Allah and man. Those are the things that can't pass away, that don't pass away, that won't pass away. Islam? Islam. He understands. See, when you truly understand the aspect of you, or when you begin to come into an understanding of those aspects, that duality that exists, right? Those two natures, right? You understand that one of them is only as real as you make it. See, that's part of the process of knowing thyself. Is understanding that one aspect of myself that I view as real is only as real and tangible as I make it. See, it only becomes real because of the thought and the energy I put into it. What do you mean, Brother Selvey-Bey? I mean that from the perspective of these lower thoughts that I have, right? Or this lower perspective that I view myself from, it's only real because of the thought I put into it. That carnal nature doesn't exist without me. I give it life. It can't breathe. It can't exist without. It's not independent of me. It has no independent existence. Its whole existence is dependent upon me. Primarily, it's dependent upon my thoughts, which then manifest into my actions. Islam? Which then breed hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, self, and everything that harms. Islam? See, that's the process of knowing thyself. When you begin to understand those particular things. Because now, once you begin to understand it, you begin to peep out who your foe is. You know how to approach your foe. Islam? Because a soldier never knows his strength without a foe. You need a foe. You welcome the challenge and the opportunity to face your foe. Why? Because he says through facing this particular foe, it does what? It helps you develop. Islam? This is how we exercise the strength. Man has to go through that particular process of battling within himself to ultimately unfold and be who he was designed to be, who he was created to be. Islam? You see, oftentimes when those particular challenges and difficulties face us, what do? We take the path of least resistance. We turn from it. You say, I don't want to deal with that. Right? I'm going through something so intense. Right? We give ourselves all types of excuses. Well, more, you know, I'm in my low right now. Then get out your low. What's wrong? More, well, I'm going through something. Well, get out of something then. What's wrong? While you're going through that something, as always, we have to ask ourselves, why am I going through this particular process? What is at the root of why I'm going through this experience? Why am I experiencing this? What am I supposed to gain from this? Right? Instead of taking on the woe is me syndrome, misery. Right? Because every fiber of your being is capable of misery. Mm-hmm. Moan and groan and complain. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're experiencing a challenge. Now, nobody don't understand, right? You just don't understand, Brother Selvey-Bey. You ain't been through what I've been through, and you haven't been through what I've been through, but we've all been through something. Islam? We've all had foes that we've had to face in some form or fashion. But they were placed there for a reason. That's a true statement when he says a soldier never knows his strength without a foe. How do you know how strong you are if you've never had to exercise your strength before? You can guess or estimate on your strength, but if you've never had to exercise your strength, then you truly don't know where you stand. Islam? You can make a great assumption on where you are. Islam? But you may be completely off the mark. That's why they say, the old saying, it says, sometimes the only way out the fire is through the fire.
Islam.
Islam? And all that goes into that particular process and ties right back in to what we're discussing in this chapter of Know Thyself. In 9 and 10, he says, know thyself in the pride of his creation. The line uniting divinity and matter. Two things he said right there, right? So man is the pride of all creation, right? Fearfully and wonderfully art thou made. Islam? After them all were thou created. Superiority and command were given thee. Now he's telling us that we're the pride of his creation. Think out of everything in existence. Anything that you can place your physical eye upon. He said, man, you're the pride out of everything in existence. That in itself should give you a boost of confidence, right? Should make you poke your chest out a little bit. Islam? Mm-hmm. But he says the line uniting divinity to matter, or and matter. Islam? That's what man is. The line that unites the divinity and matter. Islam?
Islam.
And it ties in. Why? Because once again we go back to those particular aspects, and there's something that's added unto thee, unlike what thou seest. That's something that informs your clay, this physical body of yours. That's higher than the object of all your senses. It's what unites those two together. Islam? The truth and the falsehood that strangely mix. It's a strange mix-up that composes this particular body of yours that makes man who and what he is.
That's right.
Islam?
That's right. Islam.
From both aspects. Because man is not the body or the soul. He's a what? The spirit and the port of Allah.
That's right. Infinite.
But yet there's a physical body. There's a vehicle, right?
Islam.
That man, the seed, has to use to get that job done. Islam?
Islam.
That man has to use, it's just for a time period though. It's just like when you go out, you purchase a vehicle. You don't keep that vehicle forever. Once it served its purpose, right? What do? You get rid of it. You let it go, right? Even if you trade it in, you sell it, whatever, but you get rid of it once it served its purpose. So it is with this physical form of yours. Once it served its purpose, right? It's time to go ahead and let it go. Islam? It's here for a time period. It has a particular purpose, and the only way that this particular seed, right, can face these particular foes that are spoken of in chapter 1 and go through the process of knowing thyself and facing these foes to battle with, to be the strength of Allah made manifest, it had to have this physical form to do that, to go through that particular process. Islam?
Islam.
It was ordained for man to go through that process and in turn come and face these particular challenges that he faces now. Islam?
Islam.
Then he goes on, he tells us, it says, behold, a part of Allah himself within thee. Remember thine own dignity, nor dare descend to evil or to meanness. Islam? I want to go over to chapter 38. Soul of man. He says, the blessing, O man, of thy external part is health, vigor, and proportion. The greatest of these is health. So of all the greatest the faculties or the external things that bless the body, he says, the blessing, O man, of thy external part is health, vigor, and proportion. And the greatest of those is health. Then he says, what health is to the body, even that is honesty to the soul. Islam? So you can compare health to the body as honesty to the soul. Islam? So it tells me that when the soul is receiving the truth, it's in a healthy state. Islam? It's functioning proper. It's feeling good. It's working in the right manner that it should. Islam? So if health is to the body what honesty is to the soul, so what is dishonesty to the soul then? Islam? It then puts the soul in a state of unhealthiness. Islam? And when the body is unhealthy, you see all types of signs and symptoms that something's going on internally. Something's not right. Islam? It may be a headache, right? It may be a cough, right? Or sometimes you may even see showings on the body, physical body itself. The body's alerting you that something's off inside me. You need to pay attention to it, right? The same thing with the soul. When the soul is in an unhealthy state, we see the external effects of what's going on internally as well. Islam? Why? What are the actions of the soul? Thinking, willing, reason, understanding. These are some of the actions of the soul. So then you see it displayed through these actions. Right? You see the thinking's kind of off track. You're like, what was that individual thinking? Right? What type of reasoning are you using to come to that conclusion? Right? You see these particular actions are all out of sync. They're all out of whack. Islam? It's because there's something going on internally. Right? Dealing with the soul. We were speaking earlier. I was speaking to the brother Selvey-Bey. And we were talking about how at times you can speak and you can hear certain things in these lessons, right? Brother, say something and it resonates with you so much. Right? Like you took a good bite out of some warm pie, some good sweet potato pie, right? A big old pot of warm gumbo or something. Right? Some real soul food, right? But so it is when the soul gets a taste of that truth, right? It just hits you. It's like, right? We're talking about real soul food. The real soul food or food for the soul is the truth. Because he told us, man, the soul will go to the ends of the earth seeking out truth. Islam? He said, like a man traversing the desert sands in search of water. That's what the soul does in order to come to the truth. Islam? Just imagine a man traversing in the desert sands. How bad he wants some water. This is the correlation to how the soul, once it even gets the glimpse or a taste of truth, what it does to even get to it. Islam? But he tells his daughter, for she is rash. Right? Remember, that's something that is added to thee, unlike what thou seest. He tells about the soul. He says, daughter, for she is rash. Islam makes rash decisions, right? Because action, right? Action is her delight. She will not be denied, referring to the soul. Right? He says that the soul, as it goes on this particular quest, sometimes it can move rash and act rashly. So you have to guard. Right? This is when you begin to utilize those different tools that were spoken of. Tools that we use in the workshop of the mind. We have to draw circles around our passions and desires and keep them within the bounds of righteousness. Islam?